Around about this time every year, we read cabinet scorecards and people of the year. And the authoritative Financial Mail's newsmaker of the year is the country's health minister, Dr Zweli Mkhize. This is what the magazine says. A minister, a doctor, a patient, a tireless leader, a big brother, often a bearer of bad news and even a dancer. I want to talk to the editor of the Financial Mail, Rob Rose. Good afternoon to you and welcome. We all know that he's had a tough job this year. How difficult a choice was this?
Afternoon, Jeremy. Well, you know, there are a couple of people who would fall into the category of people in an otherwise year that that would qualify. But I think the obvious news story this year is COVID-19, and I suppose as the face of the local public response, the government's response, good and bad. Zweli Mkhize is the guy who certainly hogged the headlines and would, I suppose, take most awards for Newsmaker of the Year.
The PPE tender scandal did happen on his watch. How did that impact him, do you think?
Well, the thing is, Jeremy, this is a Newsmaker of the Year. A couple of years ago, we had Marcus Jooste as our Newsmaker of the Year. So certainly it impacted upon him. It negatively affected the credibility of him and the entire government. And there are a couple of other things that didn't help Zweli Mkhize during the year. For example, the biggest critics of the lockdown were a couple of scientists who he then axed from his advisory council. So this is not to his credit at all. But I think that you would have to go quite far to dispute the fact that COVID-19 and the government's response to it has been the story of South African media for 2020. I mean, even now we talk about the beaches. I mean, in your previous segment, so it's a story that is kept running and inflames passions on all sides.
And no surprise with the political newsmaker of the year, Rob Ace Magashule. He seems to be a one-person wrecking ball at the moment.
Absolutely. As we were doing this story, Jeremy, like on our deadline, we got the news that the Integrity Commission had asked him to step aside. So I suppose, he potentially has the potential to be quite a disruptive influence for 2021 too, both on the ANC and the country's politics. So, I mean, Zweli Mkhize is an obvious choice for the overall newsmaker, but I think Ace Magashule there's far more of a menacing portent with that man. And
just finally, you also tip a hat, if I read correctly, in the direction of the physician, Dr Glenda Gray.
I mean, Glenda Gray is somebody who did fight with Zweli Mkhize during the year. I mean, she was one of the people who initially called the lockdown rules unscientific, and the minister was furious about that and demanded she be disciplined. So it was quite a high-profile clash, and I think that ultimately he had to back down. Glenda Gray she was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world a couple of years ago. She is a fantastic physician. I think she's been in the forefront of public thinking on this issue, on COVID-19 this year. And she's certainly a very independent voice. So when government says to her, we need to have taxis at 100%, Glenda Gray is not somebody who shirks away from saying that's ridiculous. And I think at this time we need people who are willing to question the official line on things, and to have one of the world's top scientists doing that for you, I think is critical. It's a sense of just how deep our body politic goes, that we have people like this in our social ranks.
No, you're absolutely right. The more challenging voices we have in that respect, the better. Rob Rose is the editor of the Financial Mail. Rob, thank you very much indeed.